We can perform a dilation with a compass and straight edge. So the first thing you need to do is from O, which is going to be our center of dilation, you draw a line that goes through A. So you go all the way from O through A. A prime has to be on that line somewhere. And then since we want it to be 3 times the distance, because the scale factor is 3, that's where we use our compass. We're going to use the compass to measure that distance. From O to A. And we're going to mark off that distance so that it's 3 times larger. So there's one length of it. There's a second length. Now that would be twice as long. And then the third length would be right there. So we measured it once, twice, 3 times to get a scale factor of 3. That is where A prime ends up. You do the exact same thing to get B prime. You change your line or draw a new line. Goes from O through B. While I'm at it, I'm going to draw the third point too, for the third line. Now our scale factor is 3, so we move our compass to measure from O to B. That's one length. Do it again to get 2, and then do it one more time for a scale factor of 3. So where we marked that off, that was B prime. Do the same thing for C if you've got your line. Stretch your compass to be that length. Mark it off a second time and third time. So since ABC, that was all collinear before, it should remain collinear now, A prime, B prime, C prime. We also said it would be parallel. A prime, B prime, C prime. It's still collinear, and it does appear to be parallel. So for this example, we're going to determine the center of dilation and the scale factor. So remember the center of dilation? If you look back at our last example, it was that point O that we started with for all these lines. So to get that working backwards, you're just going to go from A prime and through A prime into A, and that will intersect the line that goes through B prime and B and C prime and C. They should all intersect at one point. That will be the center of dilation. So draw those lines from C prime through C. And through B prime to B. They should all intersect at one point. Right there. That's the center of dilation, where those three lines all intersect. And then to get the scale factor, call that O, you just measure those lengths. So you can use an actual ruler or the base of your protractor if it's got a ruler on it. Your measurements might be different than mine because of just the way it printed. It might have scaled it a little bit. The ratios will be the same though. I don't know how to rotate this around. So you would just take your ruler, measure the length of O to A, and then the length from O to A prime. Since my ruler doesn't want to work right. Looking at it, I think it's got about a length of, or a ratio of 2. So you could stretch this out. It's kind of more difficult, but you could stretch it from O to A and then see if that's the exact same length as if you were to mark that off again from A to A prime. And I would say, yeah. So if you have an actual length, whatever that length is, if you're using your ruler, if you actually measure it out, I think it's something like 4. And then you measure all the way from O to A prime, and it should be pretty close to double that, about 8. You can do the same thing with O to B and O to B prime. Whatever you get for O to B, probably somewhere around 2. Then O to B prime should be double that, it should be 4. If your measurements are a little bit different, it's okay, the ratio works out the same. And then from O to C and O to C prime, get something maybe around 2.5, 2.5, and then from O to C prime, it's somewhere around 5. This was in centimeters. Also, if you used inches, it would be obviously different numbers. But the important thing here is the ratio from the original side length to the image, the A prime. It's always double. You always multiply it by 2. So that means that the scale factor, you can take the image over the pre-image, 8 over 4, or 4 over 2, or 5 over 2.5, to get your scale factor is 2. So to find the center for this next problem, center of dilation, you do the same thing. You draw from C prime, or C and C prime. Oh. Draw a straight line. And do it again from B to B prime. And A prime. And they all intersect at one point right there. That's our center of dilation. Now, this time you should notice that the original, the pre-image, ABC, is larger than the image A prime, B prime, C prime. That means your scale factor is like a fraction, like 1/2. It looks like it's going to be about 1/2. To get that measurement for sure, you just measure from O to A and O to A prime. So you measure O to A, it's about 5.5. And that'll be centimeters. O to A prime, it's about 3. So when we measure O to B, about 3.5. Maybe a little bit off. And then from O to B prime, 1 to 1.75 maybe, not quite. And from O to C and O to C prime, you get your measurement. Your numbers might be a little bit different than mine. It's close to 5, and then point something. So to get your scale factor, it's going to be a little bit tricky because the numbers aren't, they don't work out that great. It's not like double. But you just put the ratio of the prime over the original, the image over the pre-image. So it'll be something like 3 over 5.5 will be your scale factor. Now, since that's just a fraction, you can deal with fractions. To get decimals inside a fraction is just really messy, so you're going to get rid of it by moving the decimal over one spot. So that's 30 over 55. And then you can reduce that by dividing everything by 5, and you get 6 over 11. Something around 6 over 11 will be your scale factor. So one more time, that process, you draw A to A prime, B through B prime, and C through C prime to find your center of dilation. And then you measure the side lengths to get the ratio or scale factor. So your numbers will probably be different because of the scale on my screen is different than the scale on your paper, but the ratio or scale factor will work out to be the same. So from O to A, I've got 9 centimeters. The ratio will work out to the same even though the numbers are going to be different here. And here I've got 0 to 3, so that's 3 centimeters. So you put the image, A prime, 3, over the pre-image, 9, and you get a scale factor is 1/3.